I'm Anna.
I'm Ben.
We're AutoSave. Welcome to our channel. Hi, I'm Anna.
I'm Ben.
We're AutoSave. Welcome to our
You're
channel.
watching Neon Genesis Evangelion episode 14. Last episode was all about Ritsuko, the Maji. We learned about Ritsuko's mother a little bit, the personality transplant operating system, how that applies to Evangelions potentially. Yes, I want more.
I want more. We
Right?
have questions.
We have answers.
We don't have
We
those
don't have
yet.
answers.
He's lying.
You ready? Sweet.
Third angel. Why are we here?
I don't know. What else would be happening at the same time? I mean, we didn't really see what happened, right? After this?
Are we seeing it from the perspective of it being in a file? It feels like we're getting a report.
Inoperable, loss of control.
Interim report! Do you hear the sound effects?
Gorgeous. Again.
Wow, Toji's essay? This is crazy. A note? This has to be filed. These angels are given names.
Yeah.
Very angelic sounding names.
I know this is kind of odd to say, but it's kind of making me uneasy to be seeing all of this again in the context that we are of a report, you know?
If I try to think of why we're getting it, it does. But it also feels like we're watching history be written in the words of both Nerve and civilians,
Yeah.
which is kind of cool.
The different perspectives of it and how different they are.
We're seeing what we're learning about the angels, the intricacies to them.
Sandalfin.
The first capture operation. I'm like remembering back to how anxious I was during that operation. Back on duty.
I love these names.
How do you think a tier list of creepiest angel would go?
I mean, we're basically getting it. I feel like Evangelion, the show, is going to change after this episode. Hmm.
人がネルフ本部に侵入するとは予定外だよ。
ましてセントラルドグマへの侵入を許すとはな。
You let it.
使徒侵入の事実はありませんが。
では怒り第11使徒侵入の事実はないというのだな。
Wow.
Takes me back to the phone call last episode.
この席での偽証は死に値するぞ。
マギのレコーダーを調べてくださっても結構。
Holy shit.
その事実は記録されておりません。
笑わせるな。事実の隠蔽は君のお箱ではないか。
What do you have to know about him to say something like that?
期日通りに進んでおります。
まあいい。今回の君の罪と責任は言及しない。だが、君が新たなシナリオを作る必要はない。
分かっております。すべてはゼーレのシナリオ通りに。
重い山、時間をかけて変わるもの、青い空、目に見えないもの、目に見えるもの、太陽、一つしかないもの、水、気持ちのいいこと、光知れ、
Oh.
同じものがいっぱい、いらないものもいっぱい、空、赤い色、赤い色は嫌い、流れる水、血の匂い、血を流さない女、赤い土から作られた人間、女から作られた人間、街、人の作り出したもの、人は何？神様が作り出したもの、人は人が作り出したもの、私にあるものは命、心の入れ物、エントリープラグ、それは魂の座、これは誰？これは私、私は誰？私は何？私は何？私は何？私は何？私は自分、この物体が自分、自分を作っている形、でも私が私でない感じ、とても変、体が溶けていく感じ、私がわからなくなる、私でない人を感じる、誰かいるの、この先に。ミカリ君、この人知ってる？みんな、クラスメート、2号機パイロット、光司令、あなた誰？あなた誰？あなた誰？
どうレイ、初めて乗った初号機は。
ミカリ君の匂いが
Like you're in your body, but you feel like someone else? What?
シンクロ率はほぼ0号機の時と変わら
She's
ない。
in 01.
パーソナルパターンも酷似してますから。だからこそシンクロ可能なのよ。レイと初号機の互換性に問題点は検出されず。ではテスト終了。上がっていいわよ。
はい。
I'm speechless.
当たり前でしょ。
Interchangeability test.
So is Shinji in 00?
Yeah.
原社は
若干の緊張が見られますが、神経パターンに問題なし。
初めての0号機。他のエヴァーですもの、無理ないわよ。
What can we learn about Rei from Shinji being in there?
そんなの気にせずに気楽にやればいいのに。
ない子なのよ、シンジ君は。
知ってるわ。だからバカなのよ。あの二人の機体交換テスト、私は参加しなくていいの？
乗る気ないでしょ。
まあ、そりゃそうだわ。
Why would she not want to
2号機の互換性、聞かないわね。
No, it's more why are they interchangeable?
Mm-hmm. 00 and 01.
Yeah.
どうシンジ君、0号機のエントリープラグは。
なんだか綾波の匂いがする。何が匂いよ。変態じゃないの？
了解。では相互換テスト、セカンドステージへ行こう。第二次コンタクトに入ります。どう？やはり初号機ほどのシンクロ率は出ないわね。遂行できるわね。
ダミーシステムですか？
先輩の前ですけど、私はあまり安心しないのはわかるわ。しかし備えは常に必要なのよ。第3次接続を開始。
セルフ心理グラフ安定しています。
それともお腹の中かな。
アスカ、邪魔しないで。
はいはい。
栄転神経接続開始。
なんだこれ、頭に入ってくる。直接何か。綾波レイ、綾波レイだよな。
Oh my god.
違うのか。
どうしたの？戦が始まっています。
Contamination.
Mental.
ありえないわ。
すいません。エヴァからの侵食です。
Coming from the Eva. Contamination from the Eva.
What?
ゼロ号機制御不能。エヴァ予備電源に切り替わりました。
シンジ君は回路断線、モニターできません。
ゼロ号機がシンジ君を拒絶。シンジ君を取り込むつもり。
Absurd.
レイ下がって。ゼロ号機レイ活動停止まであと10、6、5、4、3、ゼロ号機活動停止しました。
レイを殺そうとしたの。ゼロ号機が。この事件、さっきの暴走事故と関係があるの？あのレイの時と。今はまだ何も言えないわ。ただデータをレイに戻して早急にゼロ号機との追試、シンクロテストが必要ね。
I feel like such a divide.
ゼロ号機が殴りたかったのは私ね。間違いなく。
A math genius puppy.
やだな、またこの天井だ。シンジ君の意識が戻りました。何も覚えてないそうです。
そう。美里も梶さんも教えてくれない。シンジは知りもしない。どんな子なの？
予定外の死と侵入、こういうことだけが仕事のくだらない連中だがな。
They have no real power.
すべてこちらが要している。彼らは何もできんよ。
ゼーレが乗り出すと面倒だぞ。いろいろとな。
我々のシナリオ通りだ。
Our script.
問題ない。
ゼロ号機の事故はどうなんだ？俺のシナリオにはないぞ、あれは。
再シンクロは成功している。
例にこだわりすぎだな、いか。アダム計画はどうなんだ？
順調だ。2% も遅れて。
ロンギヌスの槍は
予定通りだ。作業はレイが行っている。
What? Was that the thing being transported on the carrier? What?
Hi, I have questions.
We didn't have answers.
We never did. Who am I? What am I? I'm myself. I don't even know what that is.
Okay, that was Neon Genesis Evangelion, episode 14.
Mm-hmm. Kind of a confusing episode, at least to start. Like, it definitely had me as the viewer in, starting the episode off being like, why am I seeing what I'm seeing? And then the end of the episode, the ending half of the episode, I also kind of felt like I had a bunch of questions like, why am I seeing what I'm seeing? And what is happening here? And specifically questions centered around specific characters in the show.
I don't know. I'm dumbfounded. It felt like recounting everything that came so far in the first half of the episode was so interesting because it felt like it gave us just a completely different perspective of everything, right? We've been in the show, but this is the reporting on the show and what's happened, and it just gives off the impression that going forward it's almost like part 2 of Evangelion, or like core 2, or like it feels like a defining like line in the sand. And then the second episode, which is already like, how should I take this in? How should I think about what I just watched? And then the second half of the episode, it did the same thing in a different way, then I'm like, what the fuck did I just watch? Like, how am I going to make sense of it? I have so many questions, and I feel like my stomach feels weird. It felt really uneasy to watch first, and I can't explain why.
I think it's honestly what you're talking about right now is basically talking about two of the things that you were reactionary to during the episode. Like during that first half, I remember you bringing up that you felt like, is this a sign that things are going to change? That we're getting these reports of what has come and what has already happened within Evangelion. But also you had spoke about having somewhat of a feeling that was uncomfortable or worried. And we definitely have something happen that's not super positive in the second half of the episode. So maybe that is, coming to fruition, that feeling that you had of unease during the first half of the episode. Overarching, I think that my takeaway for what the first half of the episode is history being written by the people that are doing their jobs working at Nerve with their reports, but also the notes and essays that a kid would do for school, and then a personal note that another kid would do, and then the personal materials of Ida, which I imagine is like a diary. I don't know what else personal materials would be other than somewhat of a diary. But the idea of kind of like history being put into place and written down from the different perspectives of different people that live within this city and are witnessing the things that they're witnessing, and they're getting harmed by it. They're emotionally connected to it to some degree, whether they are friends of a pilot or they work in Nerve as their job, and even the perspective probably of people who are much more removed from the situation. And I think that the history being written kind of angle to how I view the first half of the episode, I feel like somewhat kind of connects to some of the things that Gendo is talking about within the second half of the episode, and maybe even Gendo's parts in the second half of the episode in particular.
Yeah.
This idea of a script.
I thought that I'd be like coming from last episode and everything we got from Ritsuko, and one of the biggest, I guess, things that stood out for me was the whole personality transplant operating system and how that could apply to the Evangelions. And I thought that was where I was kind of prepared for. That is where my mind was going to continue to go within watching.
Kind of where we went though? To
yes
some
and no.
degree, I feel like it might have been.
It was,
obviously,
but then
we have a lot
fucking
of questions, but
Rei was thrown into the blender. That was what I just completely didn't expect, because that's the biggest fucking, like, how do I even touch that? Like, to answer you, like, isn't that where we kind of went? When I'm seeing the Evangelions' reaction and like, oh, was it attacking Rei? Why was it attacking
Rei?
Why was it trying to kill Rei? No, it was definitely trying to kill me, Ritsuko says. I'm like, okay, well, whose personality is in Unit 00 then, right?
And how are they so similar, whatever personality is in 00 to 01, but yet not the same?
Yeah, and whose personality would be in 01, and then same with Asuka's situation. But I thought that that's where we were solely where we were going. But everything with Rei has me like tied in knots, man. I feel like Maniac McGee.
I feel like from an emotional angle, if I am attaching that idea of the transplant OS, the personality transplant OS, to what we're seeing of like this compatibility of synchronizing with someone else's Eva that seemingly wasn't made for you, but you could possibly be compatible with, I feel like if we go with what other characters think, not Ritsuko, and the idea that maybe it was trying to kill Rei, or it was trying to reject Shinji, and negative feelings toward Rei or toward Shinji being there, I feel like then it would feed kind of this theory within my head of Rei's parents and maybe a lack of love there, a lack of parental love, a connection to blood. But then again, that gets fuzzy because some of the things that she was seeing and feeling and thinking were within Shinji's Eva that he pilots. So what about that whole, it felt like minutes and minutes. I don't actually know how long it was, that Rei section as she was doing her test within 01. What of what she was seeing and feeling was her and what of it was Shinji. The blood, the red sky, the blue sky, how comforting the water is. What of that was her and what of it was him, and or the personality of the Eva. So trippy, but also so emotional. And I almost felt like I left Shinji's interaction with Rei's Eva feeling a little bit like maybe the personality within that Eva doesn't like Rei.
Is Rei an Evangelion? I am a vessel for a soul. Presence of someone else. Those are two things that and hate the color red. Those are three things written in line. Hate the color red. We don't even name Asuka. Sorry, Asuka. You're.
That's why we hate Asuka.
Yeah, you're fucked. Rei, you and Rei will never be close friends. I am vessel for a soul. Presence of someone else. The idea of personality transplant OS being used with Evangelions and within the Maji is like Rei and like a creation in the same way that the Evangelions are.
Well, that deep line of thinking that she's going down, I mean, the presence of someone else, once we get an idea further into the conversation, when we first hear that line, I, as the viewer, was like, oh my gosh, what's happening here? And then I started to feel like I understood that maybe that presence of someone else is because of the test being in someone else's Eva that you're not already synchronized with, and that is why you feel the presence in like a more deep sense than Shinji saying that it smells like Rei in 00. But also the deep questioning we're getting from Rei, I feel like I can also ask the question, is she having these deep questions of like, who am I, what am I, and trying to unpack things for us with so many words when we've heard her speak so little, because she's specifically in Shinji's. Like, Shinji's the type of person who asks these deep questions. The who am I, what am I, the vessels of a soul, why are angels attacking us when they're messengers of God, you know?
Yeah, you're right, but yes, okay, so my question would be then to you, like, oh, well, why would Rei be asking these questions to herself or thinking of these things? And I'd imagine the answer would be because with Shinji's contamination, like who Shinji is, he's the one who is becoming more and more inquisitive and asking more questions. So that is why Rei would be reacting the way that she is and saying the things that she is. And I think that I like that, and I think that's good. And then like we get the line of something comforting, Commander Ikari ?
Mm-hmm.
Which I think's interesting because I almost imagine that like Rei was a kid who was just sitting on the street, and Gendo raised her, and she admires Gendo more than anything, and Gendo admires her more than anything to a certain extent because of how much care we see later on in the episode. And that's where I've been at and been feeling. And then it's like, I hate the color red. Blood, water flowing, the smell of blood, a woman who never bleeds, man made from red soil. Like, at that point, I'm like, okay, what the fuck's that? That isn't like, that's a little harder to just like stick on to the idea of just being inquisitive because of Shinji. So like, okay, let's say that is the case. Where are these answers coming from? Man made from red soil? This shit sounds like Gendo's like talking almost to a degree.
Well, that's what I'm saying is I feel like everything that Rei is saying to us is both the Ikaris that she talks about within this scene. I feel like she's having a rush of feelings and sentiments and ideas and questioning that comes from both of them. That's how I feel like my final like takeaway is of that scene. Even though I had felt in the time that I was getting an unpacking of Rei as a character, but maybe that's the best way to get an unpacking of Rei is through the device of utilizing someone else that she can be somewhat able to synchronize with or be compatible with, which is a character like Shinji and his personality.
We just have nothing of Rei, like, for the most part. So
we're latching on to...
You have to. City, a human creation. Eva, a human creation. What is a human? A creation of God? Is man a human creation? The things I possess are life and soul. I am a vessel for soul. Entry plug. The throne for a soul. So like, so Soul being, let's say, Rei or Shinji being in the entry plug, going within the Eva, and the Eva being the vessel, right?
Mhm.
But is that a metaphor for what Rei is saying? I am a vessel for a soul that.
Okay, so think about it this way. So if we're saying that these Evas have a personality transplant OS, and we're even theorizing from last episode into now that it could possibly be some of the parental figures of some of these pilots that are the personalities. Let's use Gendo, for example, for 01. You are your parents' DNA together. They created you from them, and therefore your DNA is connected and intertwined and similar, and it's undeniably so that way. And so therefore they create this vessel, a vessel made from themselves. If the Eva is the parent and you are the soul entering it, your human body is also a creation that is made up a lot of your parents.
Yeah.
And then the thing
So
that is very
man.
you is the soul that is within it.
Yeah. Okay. I've never been on ayahuasca, but I feel like that's what's happening right now. Like, sorry, audio issue there. I'm a vessel for a soul. Entry plug, the throne for a soul. Like, I'm looking at this. Who is this? This is me? Who am I? What am I? What am I? What am I? What am I? I'm like, at this point, like, I am so. I am myself. I feel like, you know who Neil Breen is?
No.
Like, man, I don't know. I'm tripping out. I'm so sorry for this discussion. I don't even know what to think. I'm tripping out. The form that shapes me. This is the me that can be seen, yet I feel as though I am not myself. Very strange. I agree. I agree.
To me, it's just the presence of someone else and feeling like you're not yourself, you're no longer yourself, your shape is fading, is because you're synchronizing with someone else. So you're losing your shape.
Yeah, I feel as if I'm burning. Okay, I get you. I feel the presence of someone else who is not me. Is there someone there beyond this, which you're saying is a synchronization of Shinji?
That or the personality transplant. The other personality, the one
in
that
the
is
Evangelion
in the
or
Eva,
inside
yes.
of Rei?
In the Eva. Not inside of Rei.
I
think Rei's a human.
But the idea when
with some sort of fucked up tragedy backstory.
But if it's so obvious that the Evangelion is a vessel for a soul and the soul is Rei, Asuka, or Shinji, and Rei knows that, why would Rei say I am the vessel for a soul? And bringing up the entry plug too, because bringing up the entry plug would be like a meta. Like, imagine that Rei is a giant person, right? Like, you know that one animated movie with the big giant girl, and she was like, it ruins her wedding, I think. And there's this slime man. You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
You don't?
I don't.
Oh,
I know what you're talking about.
Okay. Imagine like Rei is that giant woman, and in the back of her neck is like a human colored, flesh colored like cylinder that can be pulled out. And guess what? It's just like it is in an Evangelion, and there's a person in there, but it's not actually a person because it's just a soul.
Yeah, but isn't a human body just a vessel for a soul, just in simplistic terms?
Yes.
I feel like we've just circled back to my point, which was how comparable a human body is with the soul in comparison to the personality transplant if it's made out of their parents' personalities. I feel like we've just circled back.
I agree. Yes, I think what we're saying are close to the same thing, but I'm just keep slumping and lower into my chair. But I don't know if. Do you think that Rei would see it that way?
Do I think that Rei would perceive what it is that she was thinking in this test as melding with someone else and or gaining someone else's feelings and memories?
Yeah.
Do I think she'd perceive it that way? I would think so. I would think that if I was them and I went to synchronize with someone else's Eva, that it would be there could be the simple factor of the area within the Eva smelling like the other person. But if it's so connected to the actual person, like they are so connected, like their mental state can be seriously harmed by doing this. That's how connected they are. It speaks the language that they speak, you know? The Eva is so like the technology is so run on actually being so enveloped and actually connected to the person that is within the cockpit of it, basically.
If it was Shinji, okay, this is a nonsensical argument, so I'm sorry, but okay, so like when we're going next, right? Is someone there beyond this, and we're in Rei's eye, we see Shinji and like Ikari. Like, couldn't you see, if what you're saying is true, we would be seeing other people through Shinji's eyes?
Well, see, we see all the friends.
Yeah, but not necessarily through Shinji's eyes.
I know this person.
Yeah.
And then everyone, and then classmates. The pilot of, we call Asuka the pilot of Unit 02.
That stray is awesome. And
Who
we
are
see
you?
Rei.
No, but what if that's seeing yourself through someone else's eyes? And also, who saw this? Who saw this on the screen? Shinji.
Okay, you're
Shinji
right.
saw this on the screen.
Fuck. Okay, but yeah.
But they get them waking up so almost startled by what you witnessed. You were transported in some world unlike the world you normally exist in.
That's what. But when I was like, "What is Rei in Evangelion?" I'm like, "Are you looking at yourself?" Like.
So I think you're having a little too much fun.
I don't know what I'm having. It is somewhat fun.
It sounds fun. Maybe I'll try to think like you a little
bit. I'm trying to make sense of what is happening to my mind right now. This is such a fascinating episode. Did it feel unlike anything we've gotten so far? Yeah, granted,
obviously the first half especially was unlike anything we've gotten so far. So I'd say the simple answer to that question is, of course, this episode felt like nothing that we've gotten before.
Yeah.
And the second half of it felt, as I've said, similar to the questioning that Shinji has done in some of the recent episodes. That is the closest the second half of the episode has felt to something I've seen before.
We've before noted how it feels like, okay, Gendo's up here, Ritsuko's up here.
In terms of morality or care?
In terms of information and power.
Okay.
They're up here, and then Misato is a decent step down, and then Shinji and the rest are a decent step down. This episode has only solidified those feelings tenfold because of that conversation between Ritsuko and Misato in the hallway about Rei. And it just feels like that paired with the entire recap, the isolation of information is genuinely terrifying and scary to even a real life degree.
Well, that's why we're seeing the history being written of whatever has been shown to people or whatever they've been able to witness being written in their own personal effects in the first half of the episode. I would say it kind of makes sense to me now a lot more after last episode that Ritsuko would have a little bit of maybe a leg up in terms of how much she's in the know of in comparison to Misato, because she's kind of Nepo babied in.
Yeah.
Ritsuko, I feel like because of how influential her mother was in the making of what NERV is even capable of, I think because of that, that is why she knows as much as she does and is trusted with as much as she does. We keep getting them almost on these equal, but kind of a little bit they're not in a competition, but they kind of have gone against each other, at least in the last two episodes. Misato and Ritsuko have kind of been at opposition a little bit in terms of what is the game plan and what are we going to be doing. But they are also still kept on somewhat of an equal footing of they both are in charge to a good extent.
And they're extremely close, and friends.
So imagine that dynamic of you're aware, you have a good standing, you've even been promoted, and this is your friend, but you also work with them. And they know some things that you don't, and they make some calls you don't agree with. I feel like Misato is in a very uncomfortable... I don't blame her for not wanting to deal with Kaji, because having a best friend or a really close friend within your same workplace that might know some secret intel you don't and makes calls you don't like against the kids you're literally raising, and then also dating someone within this the place you work.
Yeah.
I don't blame her for maybe not wanting to see Kachi.
So why do you think Unit 00 would be going after Ritsuko particularly, if you will, believe her opinion for a second?
Okay, so yeah, you're right. I was focusing more on like if it was what Misato, I think, was the one that said it wasn't gonna kill Rei. So yeah, if I were to believe Ritsuko's feeling that the punch was directed
I think we should
her,
entertain both.
If I was to entertain that,
do you think that, like, obviously, if we're saying that the personality transplant OS is something that her mother utilized on the Maji, then would it be, like, maybe she looks like her mother, like, type, I don't know.
It could be as simple as if the Maji was with Ritsuko's mother, then the first Eva that was created, the prototype first Eva, could have also been while Ritsuko's mother was still working, and it was also her personality.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be Ritsuko's mother wanting to kill or punch Ritsuko.
Yeah.
Like, that could be what it was.
Interesting. I don't know. I don't know.
Also, Rei as a character is seemingly able to synchronize well with a lot of different Evas, or at least she has this kind of air about her where they believe she would do a good job operating the different Evas.
Yeah.
And we haven't, you know what we haven't even brought up? Saying to Asuka, you wouldn't want to switch Evas, right?
Yeah.
Like, that kind of line and thinking.
That
you wouldn't want to be in a different... That was very, like, emotionally charged. I feel like there was an emotional conceding on Asuka's end that was kind of like, yeah, I wouldn't want to be in a different one than I was in.
My interpretation, or my, like, immediate reaction to that is like, well, what the fuck is the connection then between Rei and Shinji? It needs to be, like, it needs to be something that Asuka and Shinji don't have, right? Asuka's, like, German as well, but I don't think that would be the lack of a connection there.
I think we already have the answer. I think if Shinji's Eva 01 is Gendo's personality, then of course, especially from the only Rei content we've really gotten is the close relationship and bond she's been able to build with Gendo. Why would a Eva that is possibly built on Gendo's personality reject Rei? It wouldn't. If Gendo is so protective of her, especially.
I have nothing to... Okay. Want to know why I don't think it's Gendo's personality?
Okay.
It seemingly protected Shinji. Like, in the first episode.
Mother.
Or, yeah, I mean,
Mother that doesn't bleed. I don't know. Gosh, I feel like I'm, like, starting to slump a little bit, too, in this kind of, like, there's so much to think about.
So interesting.
So much to try to unpack, but I feel like we don't actually have what we need to. I feel like it's going to be one of those things that as soon as we get an answer, I don't think the answer is going to be given to us on a silver platter at all, but I feel like once we're able to piece it together, we're kind of going to be like, oh my gosh, this is deep. This is, like, dude, I feel I want to rewatch.
So much fun. Sometimes I'll get, like, really, like, personally, I'll get really insecure about bringing up, like, stupid ideas or things that I might think are right because we are on video and it sucks to look stupid. But sometimes, like, one of the channels, or one of the shows that we watched on this channel was Attack on Titan. Mm-hmm. And, like, while watching that, I developed such, like, an adoration and love for the aspects of the show that I didn't know that got me to the point of being like, I don't fucking care anymore about, like, saying stupid shit because I'm having so much fun saying shit that is probably not at all going to be close to the truth. Mm-hmm. But it's so much fun to talk about it because we don't know and there's nothing to know. Like, we don't know. It's just so much fun to talk about.
Well, what it is also is us getting to truly feel like we are immersing and appreciating what is given. Because the reason that you can have theories, you can only have a bunch of theories if the material itself is good. And it's full
phenomenal
of lines and interesting concepts in a world that you don't yet understand and just deep thoughts. Like, the fact that we are in this world and we are trying to piece it together with theories that might end up being, at the end of the day, incredibly stupid, it's still a compliment at the end of the day to our enjoyment and appreciation of the show, but also to the show.
I can't shake the mom thing that you said. That makes so much more sense to me than it being Gendo. If it is...
Well, also, like, the one Eva that he was like, make sure you save this one last episode was
why?
also
Okay,
01.
why does that apply to Rey? Are they siblings? Like, or step siblings? But they're the same age. I feel the fact that they're interchangeable is something
to some
of note.
degree.
You're
because
right,
Shinji wasn't able to necessarily flawlessly handle the test in 00. But it seemed like that was more 00's problem and not Shinji's problem. Like, 00 was rejecting him and not necessarily, like... It felt like the blame was more so on the Eva and less so on him.
Yeah.
At least in some of the language.
Do you think, like... we're going to learn, like... I hope that we get to know, like, the personality within 00 and 01 and, like, all of the details behind it. I can only imagine it being, like, would it not go to affect, like, the interactions between Eva and Pilot, you know?
Yeah. Something else that I found interesting, which I don't know if we were ever given the specific word for the liquid that the Evas exist within while they're within Nerve. Cryogenic freeze. While they're in cryogenic freeze, which gives me the idea of, like, oh, when someone wants to pay a lot of money to be frozen so that they can hopefully wake up thousands of years in the future when cures for this disease and that disease and immortality are attainable. Like, that idea of how humanoid that liquid that the Evas would be put in, what that gives to the Evas in terms of, like, we are cryogenically freezing them, to me just makes them feel a lot more like they're made of flesh and blood and DNA similar to us, like the angels are.
So the idea of, is it Seele or Seele, Seele?
It's either Seele or Seal in terms of pronunciation, I would guess.
During
Seele
that meeting, I was given something. And it was, so, like, Gendo was lying about the angel, right? And
yeah,
the
we
idea,
knew he was gonna.
Absurd, hiding the truth is your specialty. We get the punishment for lying within these circumstances. But the time schedule is advancing as described in the Dead Sea Scrolls. I'm like, God, I love this show.
This directly brings us back to the end of the episode when we have the introduction. We don't want to go with the Seal's script. We want to go with Gendo's script.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is, like, to me, which brings up how we started this discussion, history being written versus, like, history following a certain set course or script that we have set for it.
We hold all the trump cards. There's nothing they can do. Still, that doesn't mean we should provoke them. If Seele starts interfering now, it'll be trouble in more ways than one. Everything is going according to our script. There is no problem. What about the Unit 00 accident? That wasn't in my script. It is no obstacle. The resynchronization test for Rey in Unit 00 was successful. Ikari is too concerned about Rey. What is the status of the Atom Project? Proceeding smoothly. It's not even 2% behind. Then the Lance of Longinus is going as planned. Rey is carrying out the operation.
And it looks like she has a lance in her hands.
It does. Do you think that was the thing on the aircraft carrier?
I think it might have been. Oh, yes! The thing that we were like kind of looks like a spine of some ancient giant creature that has died, but was probably just a green tarp that was wrapped around it.
So what do you think it is? Like, what's Rey doing?
And why we would want her to do it? Why would Gendo saying that this is no obstacle and that being interpreted as him, like, caring too much for Rey? Is that a character believing that Gendo might be sacrificing some of the percentage chance of success on a mission because of his care for Rey and wanting her to succeed and belief that she will be doing well and able to synchronize and stay synchronized and not go berserk in Unit 00? Are we seeing a character be like, is Gendo, that care that he has, is he maybe making a choice that is risky here because of his care, and he's letting his care get in the way of, like, a certain percentage of successful, like a success rate percentage?
Yeah. Well,
that makes me nervous for if we see next episode, which I don't even know if we will see what this mission is with Rey next episode.
What? we'll get 14 more episodes, and then we'll get to see what it was, but only in Gendo's notes, you know?
I feel like that leads me to my last thing in terms of fallout from what we witnessed in this episode. Obviously, we have it said, well, there's no... Shinji has woken up. He's conscious
The lance
again.
is red. I'm sorry. Okay.
We don't like red.
Yeah.
So Shinji's conscious again. There's no contamination. And he doesn't remember anything.
He's back in the hospital bed.
He doesn't remember anything. No contamination. Obviously sounds really good, but is there really not a change that a person would undergo upon sitting in Eva for the first time, synchronizing with an Eva for the first time, but then also attempting to synchronize with a different one, seeing the possible memories or life of that person, the feelings of that person that either sits in that seat and or personality was used for the transplant OS? Is there actually no contamination? So I feel like, is that something that we'll possibly see plague either of them in the future as clutching their heads in a similar way? Because even though Shinji, he doesn't remember at that moment, that doesn't mean that those things are locked up so tight that he'll never remember what he saw or what happened or what he felt.
Mm-hmm. I hate that Shinji has to see that ceiling again.
The hospital ceiling?
Yeah.
We would much rather him be back in Misato's apartment, and I think Asuka feels the same way. We then get to see Asuka kind of laying in her bed at home, you know, thinking about things too. I think she has a lot of care about Shinji.
Mm-hmm. That's the last thing I want to bring up. Oh my god.
That's the last thing you wanted to see?
But why does he see Rei in the first episode?
There's an undeniable connection, which is why we're seeing that they should be able to synchronize with each other's Evas. But why does she look so creepy in this shot? You know, that is a question for another day, because I don't have an answer for it today.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. That's a great expression. I'm jealous of whoever was able to draw that expression.
It was like their one task. They were probably really excited about this task. They were like, yeah, I get to draw this like one look on Rei's face. It's going to be the best moment ever.
Yep. I feel like this episode broke me. I love it
okay.
so much.
You'll pick yourself back up and you'll sit back down in this chair again and you'll watch episode 15 and you will be...
I'll have the answers!
No, but you will be ready to receive any answers that may come.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright. Do you have anything else?
No.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. We hope to see you next time.